We're alive. Alive and kicking. It's interesting. Alive and kicking. Who's alive and kicking? A child when they're born. Child when they're born, what can they do? First, they just kick and cry. And what's the life of a child? A little baby that's born. Really now, what's the life? They eat, they poop, and they sleep. That's their life. What kind of life is that? And yet, what do we say? This is life. This is a child. A soul and a body. Precious life. Precious. Oh, what's so precious? What did they do exactly? All they did was act. No intelligence, no emotions that are displayed, no power of speech that they can express their, loftiness of personhood. All they do is act. Act in eating, pooping, and sleeping. That's it. And there we see that the power of the soul just to act, to do, just to do, without intelligence, without emotional engagement, is a reflection of the core essence of the soul. As opposed to our intelligence and emotions, is not a reflection of the core essence of the soul. It's the quality of the soul. Yeah, the soul, infinite quality it has, but it's still only a quality of the soul and not the core essence of the soul. Action is. Which means we all got to take action. All right, let's take action right now and express in speech. Tanya today, welcome. Rabbi Ronnie Fine coming to you from Chabad, Zurich, Kadesh, in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. And we share that with around the globe. Michael in Germany, Rusty in Texas, Brett is in Pennsylvania, Amy in Colorado, Ashley is in Texas, John in North Carolina, Melanie in Chicago, Rabbi in Morocco, Elise is in West Virginia, Andrea is in Phoenix, Simcha in Florida, Aliba and Davida in New York, Stan is in London, England, Denise is in New Jersey, Diane in Arizona, Daphne in South Carolina, Julia in Pennsylvania, Rena in Colorado, Eugenia in Calgary, Moshe in California, David in California. Oh, Vicky is with us. Welcome back, Vicky in California. Thank you for joining. Diana in Washington. Jean is with us in Miami. David in Wisconsin. Tony in Costa Rica. I don't think I missed anybody. I hope not. We have with us Clubhousers, Vic, Vilma, Marcy, Michael, Jay, Moshe. We have the therapist is with us. All right. Leo. That's great. Tell me if this is good therapy. Instagrammers, we have adult humans. We have Jens Nelabenta. We have Troy, Natalie in Brazil. from Oklahoma. All right. Jennifer in Minnesota. Beautiful. Okay. God's greatness, which is his kindness, is his greatness, that knows no boundaries, is in his creation of you and I, of the universe and everything, ex nihilo, something from nothing, constantly creating you and I. There's no greater kindness. We think kindness is getting a gift from God. Well, we get every moment the gift of life, that he's recreating me, something from nothing, which is beyond our cognition, beyond our understanding. We don't have the power of intellect to get and comprehend this. But it transcends intelligence to appreciate something from nothing. We have no reference point for it, because everything in the human condition is something from something, and therefore cause and effect. You take something and you create a cause that has an effect, right? You take some clay and you mold it and fire it up, and so you started with something, and you, from molding it and shaping it, you get a mug, the effect, right, from the cause of some clay and some what's it called? I forgot the name of the word. Where you put it on the lathe. It's not a lathe. It's something similar to a lathe. They can then mold it and shape it. And actually might be a lathe even. That's with wood. I know, because I used to do that in high school. And you mold and shape it. Excuse me a minute. Hello? 6405 Westbury. 6405 Westbury, that's where. No, I mean, well, we davened already. We don't have anything now. Okay, sorry. So we have no reference point for it. We don't understand it. We don't get it. And ultimately why we don't get it, it's because this quality of God, of creating something from nothing, is one of its attributes of Gedula, greatness, of kindness, is perfectly bound up with God himself. Well, just as God himself, it's something we can't comprehend. His act of kindness is also something that we can't comprehend. Now you might say, well, what do you mean? I've got kindness. So from that, can I not understand? Well, my kindness is, I'm a compound of many different qualities. I'm in a perfect unity with my kindness. And therefore, you know what happens because of that? Sometimes I'm kind and sometimes I'm not. Right? I'm not always acting kind. Because it's a component of me, but it's not me. But God, he and his kindness are one. So it's him. Therefore, that one, just like he is, so is his kindness is. Oh, my kindness is not is at all times, but his is. How does that reflect itself? How is that it is? Well, the fact that he's creating every single moment comes from his greatness of kindness, that he's creating something from nothing at every moment. So that's beyond our comprehension. Right? Again, because yes, we have kindness, but our kindness is a very different form of kindness. because we're a compound of many different qualities, and therefore we can choose kindness, we can be kind, but we are not kindness. We choose it. We have to choose that. So that's what, therefore it's beyond our comprehension. God's infinite quality of kindness is one with Him, and creates us something from nothing every moment. Now, just as it's impossible for the mind of any creature to apprehend the attribute of God's gedula, His greatness, His kindness, so too it's impossible to apprehend another quality of God, and that's His gevura, might, restraint, the faculty of tzimtzum, contraction, that God contracts, restrains on the life-giving force of His gedula, of His kindness, meaning to prevent the light of God to be manifest in us, meaning God's countenance, His light, is concealed because of this quality of gevura. And what does that do? Well, it means that God's light is within me, concealed within me, that therefore gives me the appearance of being a created being that's independent of my source. Now, for example, a ray of light that comes from the sun, no one would ever think that that light is independent of the sun. It's totally depending on the sun that it could, a ray, emerge from it and give light, life to me down here. We know that it's on an independent existence. But the way God created with this power of restraint of God, the gevura of God, contracting on the light, is giving me a sense of independence. Not that I'm like a ray of light coming from the sun. That's not what I feel. We don't feel inherently connected to our source in the divine. We feel I'm an independent existence. Right? Now, we come and learn Tanya that that's not the case, but that's not the way we are created. So therefore, we sense our independence. And where does that come from, that independence that we sense? From the attribute of gevura, of the self-restraint of God, that is concealing the light within me, within all of creation. And the reason for that is, well, if not, then I would just perceive myself as being an extension of the divine, part of the divine, and nothing more, until totally nullified. So here we have the paradox. On the one hand, we have a quality of God that is concealing, that is revealing the power of Creator as something from nothing. And I have another power that's concealing that power of God. Now the question becomes, concealing in what manner? Is it concealing that indeed I am separate from God? With this power of gevura, of God's restraint, His power of contraction? Or I'm not really independent from Him, but I'm really, that's only from my perspective, but not from God's perspective. How do we see that? Again, let me reiterate the question, which, by the way, will be answered in tomorrow's class. How am I seeing now that power of God's contraction, which is one with Him? That power of God is one with God, just as the power of creating something from nothing is one with Him. How do I perceive that? Do I perceive it as a power of God that in fact is making me an independent entity? Or is it only an independent entity from my perspective? But from God's perspective, we're bound up in one with Him. Now, we know the answer is that that's only from our perspective that we have that. But how do we understand that? What is the Chabad? What is the intelligent understanding, or the teachings that will give us an understanding and appreciation that in fact I am not separate from Him? It's only from my perspective that allows me to feel and sense that, but indeed we're not. Because maybe we can just say that that power of God's self-restraint is in fact creating me as a separate entity, even from His perspective, that we're separate from Him. Again, we know that it's not that way, but how do we understand how in fact that it works that way? The reason why we know it's not that way, because there's nothing outside of God, right? There's nothing independent of God. But how does that work? How does that happen? Not just like, that we take that on faith. Or, yeah. Anyway, more to come. Any questions, any comments, any thoughts? I don't see. I know this is a bit abstract and a bit heavy duty. If you're following this, you're amazing. Truly amazing, I must say. Kol hakavod to everybody. All right. A reminder, Rambam's coming up. Sunday we'll have Torah studies, God willing, and TRC. We had a pretty powerful TRC yesterday. At least for me. I'm sure for others. All right. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Tzvich and Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Wishing you a wonderful day and a great Shabbos. Thank you all for joining. God bless you all.